So you have something that.
Yeah, that is there. I'm jobless, no?
So how many things you have? Yeah. Do something.
My name is Vishwanadh. I lead a company called Plug Scale Consulting. We are a GCC enabling company. I also have an option to work with companies who are actually managing new set of GCCs in India.
Talent Visionary of the Year goes to the Believers. Please give it up for Vishwanadh Raju, the ISF Impact Partner, International Startup Foundation. Congratulations for bagging the laurels. 22 years and in fact passionate about insights on global talent branding, keynote speaker, and of course a Gen AI enthusiast is how I should put it. 3 patents on Gen AI in human resources. I think that is a wow.
Hi, I'm Udit Saxena. I'm a global CXO leadership coach. I've been a CXO. I've worked in 5 countries over the last 30 years, and I've impacted 10,000 lives across the world. My students have come from the US, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Asia.
Udit Saxena is the founder of CXO Hive, an award-winning global CXO coach, specializes in executive coaching and leadership development. Trained by John Matone and experienced across 5 countries, he guides leaders and organizations to achieve exceptional results. Let's put our hands together for Udit.
I'm accepting this award for every transformed client award.
Hi, are you a leader who's looking to get promoted, find a new job, or maybe get a meaningful salary increase in an environment that's so uncertain? With layoffs, with AI coming in, one really doesn't know what's happening. I have something special for you. I'm going to be getting the Global CXO Accelerator Summit to India for the second time in a Succession. This is a 7-day event, 5 days online and 2 days live, right here in Bengaluru on February 21st and 22nd of 2026. So mark your calendar and make sure you register for the event. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in this world. It's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here and being part of this podcast here today. And we just love to have you here. I have a very special guest today, Mr. Vishwanadh Raju, whom I'd love to welcome. And you'd be amazed to see the kind of things that he's done today. So welcome, Vishwanadh. Yeah.
Hi, Mudit. How are you? Hi,
Great.
team.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying hello, and I'm super excited.
Yeah, thanks so much, Raju. And as we begin, it'll be such a pleasure for people to learn about your journey. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how your journey has been till now.
Okay. So Mudit, first of all, thank you very much for this, and it's an opportunity for me to kind of explain things, what happened to me, and maybe you don't do the same mistakes that I do. Started off my career as a recruiting champion and worked with companies like Wells Fargo, Honeywell, Deutsche Bank. Very incidental, very happy to say that very early of my career, I joined larger brands. Obviously, that talked about my good academics that I had to go through in engineering and masters and all that from IIM Bangalore. One thing that I have realized over a period of time is I'm today because of my leaders and mentors today, Mudit, right? I have always seen that leaders have taught me what needs to be done, how it has to be done, and most importantly, the AI thing, right? So, close to 22 years of experience, worked with brands where from technology to fintech towards research kind of organizations, played a role of HR. Then I'm now playing a role of CEO, where this is my own company. We are setting up new GCCs. So it's a very very incredible journey, and I'm happy to be part of this. And give some learnings to some of you guys. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So somebody who's worked in large brands and now on his own entrepreneurial journey, a good startup on your own. And so that's really fantastic. So tell us, you've been very kind, but not mentioned that you've written a few books also on AI.
Yeah.
So why don't you just tell us a little bit about that before we move on?
So one of my mentors, Mudit, told us that education is the only way that you actually know what's happening, right? And then there were some suggestions of doing some certifications or research, which is master's programs or PhD. I picked up PhD, and incidentally, I got a very very good guide, and she suggested that do something that nobody has done, and that could be the great PhD characteristic that you need to look at. And don't do your degree for getting the degree. Do the degree for knowledge, and that knowledge that you've acquired has to be disseminated through your portals, books, and all that stuff. That was the foundation, Mudit. So when I joined my PhD, I still remember my initial class where I had to give what I would want to do. I have written down something very ambiguous saying that, hey, end of the PhD, I would like to write one book, maybe create a patent or a process, or work and create large impact to an organization. I'm very, very happy that all of that has become multifold. Today, I've written 5 books. 3 of them are international bestsellers. I have created 5 patents. One is something called as generative AI in human resource management. How to use generative AI in human resource management is what something that I've done. And the latest patent that I've filed now is GCC maturity model. Very simple, articulated, 7 stage, 11 dimensions GCC maturity model. So using my model, companies can decide at what level they are in today and also see how they should go to the next level and become a big impactful company for themselves. Thank you.
Super, super, Raju. I mean,
You've been so modest, you didn't share that in your intro, so I thought it's best that I ask you and let everybody know what an August guest we have today in our presence.
Yeah.
Tell us, since you've done a lot of work in AI, etc., right? Tell me, how do you think, AI is impacting careers, and in the years to come ahead, what can people expect?
So I think there is a misnomer that AI is killing jobs. What is killing the jobs is technology, or the way job is done is getting really really impact. So 10 years down the line, if you would have asked me to create a content to present it to the leadership team who are CXOs, I would probably take maybe 2 to 3 weeks to create real impactful project, because it involves research, it involves talking to people, it involves some bit of secondary research and third tertiary research and all that stuff. Today, all of that is at fingertips, right? Now, if you give this task to two individuals of your own teams, you would rather have one person using technology, which is AI or anything. Somebody else does it, what's it called, traditional. Now, let's not talk about the output as such, but if you look at speed, I'm sure the AI guy will actually do that. That's what is happening. So today, so something that I tell my team, in fact, I will talk about it slightly later, is there is something called as incremental learning, accelerated phase. So my suggestion to all my mentees is pick up something that you would like to learn, which is incremental to your current knowledge. Do that in an acceleration phase, not the other way around, right? So yes, AI is here to stay. When I created a generative AI patent, I did not know agentic AI will come. When I created agentic AI, now there is something called as AGI, right? So we have to always keep learning. But interestingly, how that learning is going back to your drawing board in terms of your own work is more important than anything else. The learning without doing anything on that learning may not have a significant impact on your career. I will talk about soft skills slightly later, because those are also very, very important, because I learning 100 things, but then not showcasing that at the right time to the right audience will not even solve the problem. So we'll talk about that later.
Okay, super, super. So you're saying that somebody who's able to harness or use AI to help him will obviously do better, right?
Yeah.
But we're seeing a lot of layoffs right now in the market, right? And many reasons that companies really cite, for it. So two things. One is, how do employees make sure they're not part of that layoff list? If there are any tips for that. And
Yeah.
if you've got laid off, what's your best strategy to come back into the market?
Okay. So I call it as three tier. Tier one is basically people who are entry level to mid career people, why they get laid off and what they should do. And I'll start talking about mid to senior and senior level and executive level. The guys who are entry level to mid level people, the reason why, and this is my opinion, they would get laid off is that they have not seen the advantage of technology based doing work than work itself, right? They are not velocitizing their work. They're not creating impact for the work that they're doing day in, day out. And those are the people who have traditional way of learning, traditional way of doing things. They are the ones who are on the verge of getting laid off, right? Now, for them, it's important to understand, how do I get mentored by somebody who's a mid-career professional himself, herself, has done something that I've done already, but has done things better than me, and use my technology. That's about the first generation. The second generation is about, say, senior to mid-level people. You will see a lot of people, Mudit, who are actually doing aggregation of their work for their own teams, right? For example, I call myself as an engineering leader, but at the end of the day, the work that I've done is nothing but aggregation of my teams. I will not be required for the organization, right? If you are not creating value to the work which is getting created through technology, through anything else, your role is getting redundant. For them to understand is, they need to go back to the leaders and see how they are impacting their larger teams. Why somebody, for example, in a boardroom, boardroom will look calm until somebody comes in, right? And somebody comes in, the person just takes away everything. And that is something that you need to understand. Okay, why is that this person is so important, right?
And a lot of companies I have come across this situation that you will not see the most impactful person is not the CEO of the organization. The person comes in, he might be a senior analyst or he might be somebody who is just a engineering manager, but then the person changes the entire dynamics of the meeting. That is something that you need to look at. For senior level leaders, one very interesting thing that they should do is they should see what these guys are not seeing, how they can actually get redundant in some time. The technology that they're building, the processes that they're building can be wiped off in a day. So they should see what the juniors are not seeing and help them be ready for the situation if it comes in. Otherwise, they're also doing aggregation. So I've told about the three generation of people, why they will get redundant. I also told them what they should be doing to not get redundant.
Okay, super, super. And let's say, from an HR perspective, because you've been there also, right? So somebody's got laid off.
Hmm.
What, when he gets into the next interview or, the next opportunity, right? When he's asked, like, why did you get laid off? What do you think is the right way to answer a question?
So, 4 years, 5 years back, if this question was asked, Mudit, it was very uncomfortable situation question, to be very honest, right? So, sometimes it is your performance also, sometimes it's not your performance, right? But today, I think that question is not coming. But then, if you don't see, sometimes what happens is I get a candidate from somebody who's working in a large company who is not serving notice towards myself, who is on layoff. It is my responsibility to explain you as an organization saying that, hey, this is an exact reason why the entire team was impacted. We were thinking about AI by the time we created a small bot kind of thing. We figured out that there are large product solution which came in, and then we saw that the 35 40 people that were doing this work can be done by a simple bot, which my company had bought it from outside, right? So that is what. So I think it's important for you to tell them that, hey, this is the reason why layoff happened. Today's world, people are not asking why you're laid off. But now, if you say that you've been laid off in the month of August last year and we are in January, what did you do in the last 5 months? If you don't answer that really well, and that's there's and if you say that I've been applying for jobs, I've been talking to people, not enough. If you say that I thought it's the right important opportunity for me to think about disruptions, I studied how Amazon did a disruption in sales and supply chain. I was reading an article on Apple, how did they manage the entire, transformation project on their digital transformation and all that. Though you're not part of the technology teams, right? So then people will think that, okay, this guy is a HR person, but then understands business. So that's an impact that you need to create. It's okay to be get laid off, but then I think it's important for you to tell what you have done and how you can create the role. In fact, one other question that you should be telling yourself is that, okay, why you should get hired? There, if you are able to give, impetus on your personality, your technology orientation, your team orientation, I think you're taken care.
Super. So I think the essence that you're saying is firstly, upskill yourself and be able to explain what you're doing. And that should be taken.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing is that, see, I'll tell you what happens, right? So today, with internet coming in, you would know a 15-year experienced technologist yourself and a 15 years technologist, somebody else who's the CEO of the organization, right? There is a gap already created. You don't need to really understand what should I learn. You know that your classmate in your own college is now CEO. So this person might have done something interestingly, right? Now, not copying that, but getting elevated on your thought process to learn that is more important.
Okay, super. Let's move now. We've dealt with some, current situations. Let's just move a little bit towards leadership because, a lot of people in our cohort are, really mid-career leaders,
Yeah.
right? And they're working hard, they're doing their job, they're meeting their performance matrix, right? Yet they're not getting, elevated. So what is it from an HR perspective, right? What would you advise? What do you think is required for leaders to actually get to the next level?
So sometimes, Mudit, what happens is stretch assignments don't knock your door. You have to knock the door of stretch assignments. 15 years back, if your question is how to get promoted, Mudit, my answer would be do your job so well, your organization will promote you. Whether you are ready for the organization or not, it's not your problem. They will make you ready. Now the same question comes in. They will say that, hey, I'm sure, Mudit, you know this, right? So whenever the promotion level discussions happen, there is this closed room where all the functional leaders sit together, understand my team's performance, somebody else will talk about it and all of that stuff. And then they will say that, hey, Vishwa, you are saying this guy is really good, but I never saw this person doing any cross-functional project. I never saw him or her mingling with other teams to do some great work, right? Now that is important. Now you get not getting measured on something that you know. Today the situation is you'll get measured on something that you don't know, right? Now the same situation is, for example, if somebody says that, let me take this example, right? So one of the talent acquisition person who was working in my team, he was getting promoted as director. So what we did is we gave that person an opportunity to do two regions, right? And then before the time the promotion came in, a discussion came in, the person who was receiving was already ready to give the promotion, not even me. I'm not even talking about my team member. So he says that, Vishwa, this person was set for this promotion. We were actually asking him to do this additional work as a stretch assignment. He has done that, delivered it, now he's ready. Now look at the person. So person has done something. The moment when this guy has done something beyond his work, it means that he spent a lot more time, right? So stretch assignments, leadership visibility, and not all times you can go to the boardroom, but you can still do some impactful work on the ground, which can go to the boardroom. Third is your empathetic outlook towards your other team members, right? So sometimes it so happens that very interestingly, it's happening very ahead now, is that they will ask, hey, I'm thinking about this guy for promotion as a team member of his. What is your opinion? If your team member is not giving you that opinion that, okay, this guy is a leader, so it's a 360 degrees. So you have to really look at who are my people. It's just not, there are gone out these days where I can actually take this thing for my granted, my own team members. No, they can also put a point of in thing that, okay, this is what it is. This guy is ready. So I think it's important for you to be 360 leaders. And automatically things will happen. You call it as luck, you call it as, favor or whatever it is, things will happen. But you should be at the right time at the right place.
Super, super. I think, Vishwanath, the point that you're making is you need to have cross-functional impact. You need to get noticed, and you need to manage on a 360-degree level. I think that's the takeaway, right? So
absolutely.
Super. And at this point, we'll just take a break for a minute. So I want everybody to, really listen to and absorb what you've just said, and we'll be back in just a minute. Yeah.
Are you a leader looking for a promotion, a salary increase, or even a better job? And you're working really hard, right? You invest in certifications. You've really trying to upgrade yourself. But I think you know that maybe your career hasn't done as well as you wanted it to be. Maybe some of your colleagues are a little ahead of you. Well, don't worry. That's why I've got the Global CXO Accelerator Summit here to India on February 21st and 22nd. Actually, it's a 7-day event, 5 days online and 2 days live in Bengaluru. Why is this event special for you? Simply because I'm getting CXOs from the US, from Silicon Valley, from Washington, DC. We've got CEOs of many Indian companies here who are going to come and share secrets of what helped them succeed. We've got a special GCC section where leaders from the global capability centers are going to tell you what's required in that high growth area in India. And above all, I've got HR leaders here also. So we're going to go beyond just resumes and, interviews. But what is it that they look for when they want high quality talent? What is it when they do their talent planning? Interested? Click on the link below and I'll see you on February 21st and 22nd in Bengaluru. Click, book your tickets now before they disappear. Thank you.
Okay, coming back, ladies and gentlemen, welcoming Vishwanath back. I think that gave all of you some time to reflect on what he actually said, because this is something that I find a lot of mid-career leaders tend to miss. You're so oriented, right? So let me just ask you a few more things. Sometimes high performers who are, really working hard and they sort of, like you said, every target they're hitting, but sometimes they're not seen as leadership ready, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is the reason? What's your opinion on that?
So, high performance or hypos is what we call in HR jargon. In general, my career, I have seen that they are very individual centric. They are like doing extremely well for themselves. The moment when you look at that from a 360 degrees point of view, you will not see that person spending as much time with their team members, this person not doing great work beyond the assignment that was given to them and all that stuff. So it's not about, doing your work in less than the time given to you. In the time that you have saved, can you do something else? So that's what is something. And third is that they would not make career connections within the organization, right? So cross-functional communication discussions is what we spoke about. But being a technology leader, nobody stops you to talk to a supply chain management person, a finance person, an HR person. Build some cross-functional projects, working with them closely, and get elevated. So what happens is you are very focused on your work and you're doing what is required for the organization. You feel you're doing good. Your manager also feels you're good. But then when I look at from the 360-degree thing, that's where you kind of lag. I think that's the point that you need to look at. Now you don't need to kill yourself to get into 360 degrees kind of thing, right? All you need to do is whenever you are called for a meeting, your opinions, your thoughts have to be heard and it has to be registered. For that, you need to have great communication skills beyond your teams. Your jargons have to be really refined, right? So unless and until you use some of those jargons which are very nerdy today, you will not be considered as a great leader. So I think it's important. I'm not saying copying, I'm saying sometimes extrapolating your work also really, really makes a difference. So that's what I would like to look at. If your jargon doesn't have a Gen AI or a digital transformation or a technology transformation in once in a 30, 40 minutes, I think you're not a leader. You're just a doer. And it's not about just saying, doing, right? And I have this formula called D, doing, telling, and doing, telling. So it's not about telling and doing and telling. We had this problem. This is what we did. This worked there, which means it will work here. That's the kind of communication and the impactful communication which only comes when you're very, very hard and you're on your basics and you know what you're talking. Otherwise, people will easily figure out that you are talking something that you don't even know.
Super, super. So I love the formula of DT means consistently iterating, doing, and then showing, telling. Absolutely, that's something that, and
I keep doing a lot of these frameworks. I have almost like 96 frameworks that I created myself. So one of the leaders that I told me is that sometimes you are in an ambiguous situation. That's when these frameworks will help. Sometimes you forget what somebody had said, but you will never forget the framework. So I kept learning.
Super, fantastic. Now tell me, a lot of people in line functions, right, or in engineering or in IT, etc., they don't know, what is HR looking at in terms of, looking at them. What systems do they have? Do they have any frameworks for evaluating, high performance people or leadership, right? What is going to help them get ahead? Would you like to share something from an HR perspective as to what you all do?
Okay, so consider that there are four hierarchies: analyst, senior analyst, manager, and director. Okay, let's now go beyond director. And somebody who is manager and he or she would want to become a director. Now, there are four aspects to it. Aspect one is, do I know the role of a director really well? Second is, if I get a 30-40% of that with being a manager, can I still deliver? Third, what are those skills, additional skills that are required for me to do the job effectively? Fourth, who are those 4 or 5 stakeholders who are influential in me pushing to that level? These four things you figure out, right? And I bring subconscious memory power and mind power here. You know that these are the four people. Constantly think about it. You will see these guys come and help you. I'm telling you, this happens to you. Your mind has to be trained so much that today, in the next 3 months, I need to learn how agentic AI framework will work to solve this problem. automatically you will see feeds coming in, you will have managers coming in, all and because your mind is so strong that you've connected so well. So these are the four aspects that you need to look at.
Super, super. And tell me, like, when they're evaluating talent, right? So sometimes they say, okay, he's ready at this stage or he's ready later. So what helps you in these talent discussions, whether somebody's ready now or,
Ready
you know,
later. So the one startling differentiation between ready now and ready later is ready now is the guy. I took that example of a director who actually was managing India and given a stretch assignment of Philippines. Now, for that person, if he has done that stretch assignment really well, being a director and not a senior director, and has done fairly good amount of work and all that, that guy is ready now. Just you have to, you'll sometimes it so happens, right? I'm sure many of you guys see, when you call them, hey Mudit, I heard that you got promoted. They will say this, Vishwa, thank you, but you know what? I was doing the same job because I got that work earlier. I started doing that, then they gave me this. That's going to happen. You will not be, and ready later are the guys who feel that this guy is really good. We will invest time and effort. He or she will also invest time and effort for the next 48, to 48 months. We will start working on that. So that guy is ready later. Ready now is like, for example, company has no other choice but to promote the guy because demonstrated what is required from a technology standpoint. People talk about him or her from a culture standpoint. HR has always wows about that person because too many things that person has done and all that stuff. Everyone wants to be part of that meeting. That's the kind of impact that you have to create. It's not easy, but if you start thinking about building blocks, I heard one of your podcasts where you spoke about what is, something that you have to do at a ground level, slowly. So that's what you need to look at. So ready now, simple logic is you need to be ready for the new role even before it is given to you and display at least 70% or 60% of what is required and it will be given to you. And we are not talking about politics and all that. That's a different story, different day and all that. But then if you are ready, really ready, organizations cannot stop you. In fact, when I heard the statement that your sankalp, if it is there, even God cannot stop you. It's just a matter of time. If not today, then maybe 6 months down the line, but it will happen. You have to trust yourself. You have to back yourself.
Absolutely, Vishwanath. So I think, it's very important, right? A lot of people, I think the point that you brought out clearly says that a lot of people feel that because they're doing their current job well, they should get promoted, but they actually get promoted for doing the next level job, right? Where they signal that they're ready for the next level. I think that's something so insightful that I want all the leaders to kind of reflect on. And at this stage, let's move on to GCCs because that's another area where you have a lot of expertise now. And India is very fortunate because I think we're getting a majority of the GCCs in the world are now moving to India, and it's Bangalore, Hyderabad primarily, right? But tell me, what should mid-career leaders, when they look at GCCs as an opportunity, right? How should they prepare themselves for an opportunity in a GCC?
Okay. So 15 years back, when India only had close to 100 or 150 GCCs, GCCs are considered as extension arm of the larger this thing or a services arm of the larger company, right? Now we are not talking about US and UK because we don't want to get there, right? Today, almost handful companies are literally doing what their headquarters are doing, and this is what I call it as maturity 7 level for them. Right? They're pretty much doing everything. In fact, their go-to-market is also getting driven by this. There's a technology company which is into retail. You will not believe their entire analytics function is run out of India. Global analytics function is run out of India. Right now, given that situation, somebody who was in services company because India was a services economy forever, right? So then those services companies, people used to pick up GCCs because they were coming in. The advantage of you being in a GCC, your growth will be faster because the smaller teams, impact is visible, and you can actually grow faster. Unlike services companies which are large and all that. Now, I'm not saying that large companies do not have promotion policies and all that, right? Now look at today's GCCs, right? So these GCCs are very impactful GCCs. So for example, if any new GCC is coming today, they don't want to do what a Target or Lowe's have done for 15 years. They want to do it in 2 years. Which means if you find yourself in this company, GCC, and I'm trying to sell the GCC career as itself, right? You will do something in 2 years that you should have done in 10 years. That will impact, that will accelerate your career very, very fast. Second advantage of being in GCC is that you will not be judged because of your talent and all that, because there's a lot of backup which is happening from your side, right? So there's a lot of work happening. Third is, for example, if there is any opportunity given to you, there's a lot of team who will support you because all of them will come like-minded kind of, right? So GCC career is the right investment for all of you today. Only thing that you need to look at is beyond technology, the domain expertise that you are bringing to the table. If you can bring that to the table, you will be easily notified by the leadership team because teams are smaller in India. There are not many people in leadership team. You can be spotted. Once you are spotted, your next assignment is in HQ for 2 years. And when you come back, you are the person who's running the GCC. Right? So be smart, think about things. And in fact, I can tell you this very interesting thing. You have to talk HQ language being in India. You have to talk about HQ's priorities in India, even though they are not priorities for you, because that's when you feel that, okay, this person at least understands HQ philosophy. Right? So that is what is needed. It's not about mimicking it, it's about making it.
Absolutely. There's a lot that you said there. So, some leaders still struggle, in that some others seem to do well in GCC. What do you think? Why do you think some leaders struggle and others do much better in GCCs?
So, network is net worth. That's a simple answer, but I'll explain that a little better. If you want to do anything in the GCC, there are 10 other things, 10 other people who are responsible from a RACI standpoint, either responsible, accountable, consultant or, informed kind of people, right? So, and they may not be from your own function. So it's not about you have this brilliant idea and somebody you have to do it, right? You need to, if that brilliant idea needs some investment, you have to go to your CTO and, supply chain management people, finance people rather. So some people are successful because when they brew some idea in their mind, they know that this idea will get into realization only 3 months later. They will talk to those people who think they are important today, and then they make those connections and they keep telling them this is what I'm working on and all that, make their conditioning and all that stuff. When they create that solution, for these guys, it's like, oh my God, you're talking about it. Okay, it's become reality now. And they funding and they agreeing to it is very easy. So whatever you want to do, look at those 5, 6, 10 people who are impactful for that project. Do a true connections, not about chai sutta kind of thing, right? So purely you have to invest time and effort. Your supply chain management head will not give you time unless until you tell them why you want to do what you want to do. That will happen. Once they see it, they heard about it, now they will see it and they'll fund it. Once they fund it, you already got it.
Super. Excellent. I think this is a lot of insider knowledge of GCCs, which people outside may not particularly have. So thank you so much for those gems, right? And tell me, is in a GCC, do you find that there are things which are evaluated differently in a GCC versus a traditional company? In terms or anything?
No, but then I think velocity might be slightly faster in GCC. So let me give an example, right? So if you are trying to tell that, okay, this is the function that I lead, and if the function's total cost for doing activities is 10 billion, and I would like to take this to 8 billion by 20% saves. That's a service mindset of looking at it, according to. But then you say that I will improve the efficiency of the product. I'll improve the efficiency of effectiveness of this product. I will improve the experience of the person who is using this product. then also realize maybe 50% of the cost, right? So that is what is expected out of you as a leader. Now, if you say that, CFO will immediately say, yes, let's do it, right? So that's what is changing. So in services, my companies, more of cost saves or profits and all are important, but here it is about efficiency, experience, and effectiveness powered by some costs, right? As such, what happens is you are not a profit center or a cost center. You are delivering something. Can you deliver faster? Can you deliver in a better, qualitative manner? Can the experience can be better, and the cost. So that's what delivery excellence tells you. In fact, I'll give an example. My CFO used to always stand on, 1st of Jan and said that, okay, Vishwa, you are hiring X number of people year on year, right? Now, next year, I would want you to hire 30% more people at 30% less cost, right? So the moment, it's a math, right? If you have to hire more people, you will have to invest more money. But the question is 30%. Then you will start realizing what are the line items that I'm going through, which line item did not yield me results and all that, which line item I should let go. All of the thinking process will come into picture. That's where the GCCs will come into picture.
Superb,
I'm giving
superb.
some personal examples to make things easy.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, people, especially those who are not there, they need to understand, because I see this as a big opportunity that's growing in India, and I would like the community to sort of get as much insight into this. So before we go into the next segment, let's again take a little break and back in very soon before we move to the next segment. Yeah. Okay, welcome back, everybody. And I'm sure they've had a lot to think about GCCs in this break. And let's move to the next segment on executive presence and visibility. And right. So, very often you see very capable, leaders, right? They often remain invisible. There are a lot of people who think, look, I'm doing my work. My work will speak for itself and I'll get recognized, right? How true is that? And what's the importance, especially for mid-career leaders who want to get to the next level?
So there are two versions to it. One is I'm a leader, I do my job and I go home kind of people. According to me, they will struggle a lot. They will really, really struggle a lot because this management systems, I'm not talking about individuals, may not give a great, what is it called, recognition to these people. Because for them, you are a star performer, right? Now, star performers, they only see themselves as a performer and then they're more individual in nature, right? So I think that's something that you need to really take care of. The second category of people is, yes, I do my job and I also ensure that I do cross-functional work and all that stuff. And wherever I'm actually able to contribute, I can do, but my leadership doesn't consider me. So the second category of the problem is something that you need to look at. That's where I think my suggestion is deeper networks, connecting with people that you don't know, and then make them impactful kind of thing. And then your team members should talk about your work. Your skills should actually talk about work that you have done, which that you have done it in lesser time and more faster, accurate, and all that stuff. And a little bit of innovation that you have brought into the overall ecosystem. I think you will be spotted. But then if you say that my job is this, and I wanted my leader to kind of, recognize me, it's not going to happen. And there will be this interesting, person who will come along who maybe does 60% of what this person is doing, but does a lot of other things better. And we got into the corporate politics, which we don't want to talk about. Right. So, half of the time when you go back to your team members who are doing really well and ask them, they will say that I was not getting promoted because of my leaders. Right. So, whether it is good or bad, we don't know. But then, if they have done good homework in terms of their overall career, in terms of their learnings, month on month, year on year, and all that stuff, if you are able to create the same kind of value, you will get the same value ever in your life. And I have these people at least 10 years back. These used to people come and, I've been doing the same work for the last 10 years. I have to get promoted. You will never get promoted. And doing the same thing, if you're expecting it to get promoted, then, God only can help them. But when you see that, okay, so historically companies say 2 years, but then now startups are talking about 1 year. Right? And a lot of companies have career maps. Earlier, there used to be a roadmap or a journey map, now career map. If you have to be a director in this organization, these are the 10 things that you should display, is what is displayed on their notice boards. And that kind of a revolution is making people to think that it's not about me, it's about my skills which are not making me to go to the next level. So some companies do it very, very transparently. Some companies don't. But then companies will only promote those people when they have hunger. Second thing is they are very cross-functional. They are leadership people, and they're displaying a lot of cultural elements and all that. And beyond that, they're very, very ethical, and most importantly, people who can care the team members. Right? Lot of leaders actually become leaders by their team members' performance, but that's very, very subtle, sense. Maybe you can get one-time promotion, but it will not happen every time. You cannot steal somebody's job and get promoted. It may happen once, but then if you really empower your team, I think team will empower you when you are needed.
Super, super. So I think I'm so, it's good to know that there are some organizations that are actually making it that transparent, but a lot of people here need to know what's required at the next level, and they go all over the place, like you said. You blame company culture, environment, and your leader maybe, but you don't know what's really required, right?
And one other suggestion, maybe slightly off topic, is that when people are looking at opportunities outside the organization, naturally we tend to speak wrong about the organization. Naturally, we tend to speak wrong about our leaders. It's not something which is good or bad, but if you've spoken like that, it is considered as bad. Right? So I'm not asking you to, be subtle about it, but then, there is something called as the way of people want to hear. They don't want to hear these things. Right? And they will say, okay, if you have done this for them, you will also do this for themselves. Right? So I think it's important to hold. See, knowledge is not about when you have to speak. Knowledge is about when you have to keep calm. Right? So I think it's important for all of us to really learn. So, I had a leader who used to never speak anything at the start of the meeting. I asked him once, then he said, Boss Vishwa, if I start in this, starting of the meeting, I would have given you some inputs, and all your answers will be conditioned towards that. I don't want my inputs to influence your thinking process. And that is what we need to look at. As a leader, you should say, okay, fine. So now that all of you have decided, my gray hair says that maybe you have to tinker this one, but otherwise you're good. That's what your leadership. Leadership is not about showing your knowledge and everything every time. It's about when it is required.
Sure. Great, points there for people to consider. Let's move on to the next thing, right? Very often in leadership discussions, the word executive presence. Right? What, in your opinion, is executive presence, displayed?
So executive presence, I will take it as 30% body language, 70% personality. Right? Now, both are same in some form or shape, but I'm not talking about body language, being approachable, look at eyes to eyes. These are all, everyone can read it in the internet. One is, do they know the room better? Do they understand why they are called and what they need to speak? Do they have 5 level of deeper understanding of if there are questions coming in? Do they have conviction that the thing that they are proposing will work? I think that's what is executive presence, right? So sometimes what happens is you are called into a room where you are explaining your project and all that stuff. Please understand that there are some people, not that they don't like you, but then they will ask you some uncomfortable questions, right? Now, if you know your room well, I spoke about that, right? So I think there could be this person who could ask me this question, right? That will actually kill a lot of an anxiety for yourself, right? The moment when you know the question, 100% of people, all of us, we know how to answer it. The only problem is when we don't know what the question is, right? And sometimes it is very common in our culture that we don't want to answer something that we are not very comfortable, right? So I think getting into that zone of, though we are not comfortable, we'll still be doing what it is required, right? I'll give an example. Jeff Bezos, one of the things that he says is commit. You don't like it, but commit. But when you commit it, you cannot go back and say that, hey, remember on that board meeting, I was not very comfortable that day. You cannot do that. 7 people decided that you will do this. 4 people said yes, and 3 people said no. Finally, the decision was all of you will do this. That's all. You cannot go back and say that I was telling that. So that's the kind of mindset you need to look at. So what you are saying, how you are saying, data, your reading room, and making sure that you are ready with any level of deeper understanding of questions that will come up actually makes your leadership presence felt. Otherwise, all of them heard something like anybody else, they will forget like anything else.
Sure. So I'm just going to request everybody to just hold your questions. I will take them at the end because, with all the comments there, we'll miss the questions. We have a section on questions at the end. Okay, so just hold.
Good questions though.
Yeah. So we'll take them. I don't use them. That's what I'm saying, that I want to see them, at in a sense that we shouldn't lose them in the chat. Okay, great. Before we move on to the next section, let's take a little break and then we'll come back again.
Are you looking for a promotion, a salary increase, or a new job? Well, and you're probably working very hard, right, towards it. But you know what? After a point, hard work doesn't get you leadership roles, right? You've got to be leadership ready. You need to build visibility. You need to demonstrate that you're ready for the next role. Do you want to learn what it really takes to get to the next level? Well, I'm having the CXO, Global CXO Accelerator Summit. It's a special event. It's not a tech event. It's India's premier event. It's career and leadership. And you can learn directly from global CXOs, right? People coming in from Silicon Valley, from Washington, from Indian CEOs, and above all, from GCC leaders in India. And you know what? You'll also learn from HR leaders. We're going to have roundtables. We're going to have many, many events. And that's why I want you to click on the link below. February 21st and 22nd, Bangalore. It's a live event. Sign up. It's actually 7 days, 5 days online, and 2 days live. Hi, I'm Udit Saxena. I'm a global CXO leadership coach. I have leaders like you get to the next level. And I really want you to attend here on February 21st and 22nd in Bangalore because I know this is going to make a difference to your career. See you there soon.
Okay, great. So as we come back, let's just talk about, sponsors and influence and power, right? So tell me, how important do you think sponsors are in career progression, especially for mid-career leaders?
So, interestingly, very big impact. You should be very fortunate to have sponsor that you think are from your own domain, but it will never happen like that. In your domain, so if you are a recruiting leader, your sponsor is your CTO or a CEO, not in general your HR person, right? So they're very important. They hold the, what is called finance or whatever it is, leadership. So it's very important to spot opportunity to make an eye-to-eye contact with these people, tell them your vision, beyond the company's vision and make them feel that one of the people out of 100 people who are working on this project has vision like the way the sponsor has. If you can replicate that in couple of meetings, whenever your manager goes and represents you, they would not think too much because they already have seen you or met you in some form or shape, right? So I think you need to be very transparent about the vision that you have. You will not get opportunities to meet your sponsors, but when you get, did you use it also is a question mark, right? So they play a big role, and you need to find opportunities to see or interact with them. And when you interact with them, talk what is important, and then get to their mind space little bit, and it'll boom, it's done.
Super.
So mind space is a keyword here.
Have mind space, with critical people in the organization, and you will get your sponsors, right? Here's another one, right? Politics is a dirty word for a lot of people, right? And it's not a great thing. I've never found anybody who's happy with that word right? Now, tell me, what is your advice to mid-career leaders in terms of dealing with this? And it's very clear. Either you know how to deal with it, you don't know how to deal with it. Is it a career risk? What's your opinion?
So I'll tell you what happens. Somebody who's doing politics, if they see a reverse politics done by you with you knowing, without you knowing, it'll be a disaster for you, right? So without you knowing is more disaster than with you knowing, right? You also know that you are doing this person to that person, or that person is doing this. But then if you see that, okay, this could be the person who could do politics, if you can read that early in the game and make good connections with that person and impact that person through your virtual way of looking at things and making sure your innocence in the whole structure and the way you are passionate about it, slowly that will die down in them actually, right? But then keeping all of this side, you keep doing what you're doing. If not this year, next year you'll get promoted. But what happens is you need to understand who are those impactful five people. Out of that five people, who are those two people who could be political? How do you deal with those people? Because those political people will have alliances, and that alliances you can be alliances too, right? So you need to spend maybe an hour in a week to understand this dynamics. Once you understand the dynamics, you will start talking to those people who will go back and tell these people that, hey, you have to go slow on maybe Vishwa, right? That will happen. But don't over index on this aspect. If you do really well, I think companies have realized that this is happening in companies. Companies are also letting go them, right? So focus on your work, focus on what needs to be done. Let the politics guys play politics for himself, right? But knowing your room, see, point is you thinking that I've done a great job and I'll get promoted, and promotion did not happen because of politics. If you are aware of that, that's good enough. Than just cursing that person that this person has done politics. Leave that to them and just do what you are supposed to do.
I think you've also brought out an important point of understanding the organization, alliances, and more importantly, wherever there are people, there are likes and dislikes, right? So being aware and then navigating accordingly, I think seems to be a good suggestion. Right?
See, communication, I always tell my teams, right? So there are two mentors that I'm talking today, in fact, later evening. So they have this problem of communication. They talk too much. And one of them said that, Vishwa, I talk too much, and this is a CIO kind of person. I talk too much and I spell so many things that people take that and use on my disadvantage. Right? So it's so important that you have to tell exactly what is required. Right? Sometimes what happens is, we are extremely good at vocabulary, doesn't mean that we will spill everything. So it's important to, at least with these people that you think are political in nature, extremely careful about what you are talking about whom. And I have a strong opinion that when you're talking to people, it's important not to bring in third party persons' views and ideologies and inputs about that person in that meeting, because that can go wrong and people can use that on your disadvantage. So never put somebody down in the meeting where you are talking about something, right? You can, confront that with that person directly.
Okay. Fair enough. Let's move to some more interesting topics like your books. So tell us, you've written several books. How much, what insights would you like to share in your books that you put in for mid-career leaders, on their career journey?
So before that, I would like to tell you the story of why I wrote books. So I have a 12-year-old son. Now he's 14, and he is extremely good writer. And I figured out that he writes a lot. And he said one of these days that I would like to write a fiction book. I said, go ahead. And he wrote in less than 30 days, and I was very happy. And we published the book. Um, then when he published that book, I realized that I keep talking a lot, I keep reading a lot. Sometimes I read 10 things to get one thing. Can my readings go into a book? And then I asked my son, can you help me to draft something like what you've done? Because you've done fiction, I'm doing on careers. My first book was designed and developed by him, though inputs were given by me, right? Now we both are competing with each other. His sixth book has already released. My fifth book is already released. So that's my passion. What goes into the book is the first book was about the use of artificial intelligence in human resources with frameworks and patents. Second was Gen AI. Third is agentic AI. Fourth is agentic AI and talent discovery. Fifth, the book that I've written now, I'm writing on skills. So there is a concept called skill first, right? Every 3 years, skills will get eroded is the logic that I'm talking about. What are those future skills? And in fact, there are roles. I'll give you an example. 10 years back, if somebody said that there will be a role called Chief Happiness Officer, I would have not believed it. Today, I see that reality. But 10 years back, if somebody had that vision that he or she would become a Chief Happiness Officer and worked on that, that's what it is. So, my books will contain frameworks, my books will contain processes, my books will contain things on mentorship. And most importantly, when you read the book, you will understand that there is a problem, there is a solution, and there are metrics. It's not about something like, I got off of the bed and then started writing it. So I would urge you to read this very, very important book, bestseller, Generative AI in Human Capital Management, where I have looked at all the areas of HR and all the areas of generative AI, which is right from large language models to chatbots and all that stuff. I have integrated these two technologies into human resource functions. Every function that you do in human resources can be done by AI, is what my thesis is. Go pick that book. It's in Amazon available, and it's one of the best sellers that I have seen, and I'm very, very passionate about it. In fact, today when I read it again, I learned something else from the same book that I written. So it's a lot happening.
Oh, super. Great to hear that, Vishwanath. Some tips, quick tips for mid-career leaders, which they can, take away from your books or your body of work that you published.
So one is you need to have a career map for the next 5 years and 10 years, what you would want to do. And that should have three things. One is technical skills that you would like to learn, behavioral skills, abilities. Third is network. So you need to constantly build these three things, and automatically things will happen. In fact, one of the mid-career person that I'm mentoring, 8 months back, this was a suggestion given to him. I just told him that you are a director today. You want to become a VP or a senior director. Now I would want you to do three things. One, look at all the skills that are required for you to become senior director in your own organization. Then extrapolate that to industry. Extrapolate that to domains. Extrapolate that to skills. Extrapolate that to mentors. Then you will understand that these are the 10 people that I should talk to. These are the 10 skills that I need to learn. These are the 10 people that I should invest my time in all. And then I told him that pick up 5 companies that you wanted to be part of. Start making connections from today. You will have at least one person from your school, or your previous batchmate and all that stuff, they will put across to the HR and HR will call you for an interview. You are ready, you are to seeing a senior director job description today, and you are making yourself ready for that for role for the 6 months. Any new senior director role comes in, you are almost ready, your referral is already talking to the HR and you are already in the organization. Right? Pick up 4 or 5 companies that you would want to be part of, pick up the skill gap, go through mentorship, like you do a lot of mentorship. I see that you do day in, day out kind of thing. Have somebody like you to do mentorship and then see how you're growing every day and have this philosophy. Don't go to bed until unless you think that today I've learned this. If you did not learn anything, fine, just read something about something which is not necessary for you also and go to bed. And 10 days, 15 days, 21 days you do it, you cannot sleep unless until you learn something else. And write down, and I'm a great poster boy. I write down what I want to do on all my walls. Wherever I go, I see that. It's just, it's like, we used to use this word called tapasya. Your body, every ounce of your body, last, insect of your body also should think about it. That should be your vision.
So you talk about career planning, the skills, the network, and looking ahead, right?
Hmm.
What mistakes do you think people are making especially at the mid-career level?
So one thing that I have always seen, which I have told to at least 30 of my mentees, is that they have one profile for any job that they're applying, right? And they apply to multiple jobs, right? Now, I know there's, frustration. It's understandable. But each job, the way it is designated or the way it is written, the way it is executed in a different company is different, right? And interestingly, there is a concept called as ATS, applicant tracking systems. Those applicant tracking systems will not understand that you have done something that you have not written. Right? So it is important to figure out which are those 5 companies that you would want to go after. It is okay. You will don't think any company can give me an opportunity. No, that's not the way you should look at. And then build relationship with those 5 companies, people. You will have somebody in that and start learning day by day. Right? Roles in a company towards other companies is not the same. It's different. Right? The experiences are different. The expectations are different and all that. You get ready for that. Right?
Interesting.
So don't apply to multiple roles. Nothing. You only will wait for that company to come and all that stuff. Or maybe, start looking at talking to people and understand, hey, I'm actually thinking about becoming a vice president. I feel that these are 10 things that I would like to look at. Distribute the 10 things to 10 different mentors. Best part is today, you simply write an email on LinkedIn saying that this is an area that I would like to learn. I need half an hour of your time. 9 out of 10 times they'll say yes.
Sure. So I think a lot of tips there for mid-career leaders to take away.
And interestingly, Mudit, I'll tell you one more hack. This
Yeah.
worked with almost 70 people. I'm very honest about it. I will have a mentor from the organization that I would want to join, and I'll impress that person so much, the person himself or herself will actually put my application. Boom.
Super, super. I think that's the answer Kalyan was looking for. Okay, great. One of the questions answered. Right now, tell me in terms of one last thing. Very often people only think of getting, vertical sort of changes in their job, right? To get to the next level. But there's also width to cover. How do you balance this and see this from an HR perspective when you evaluate a leader? Whether they've done different roles or they've done, more things in one area. What is the current thing?
So one of the books that I have written, I have solved this problem. I considered that every person has to take, give 2 years minimum to do the work to get to the next level. First year is doing the same work efficiently. Second year is doing the parallel work to get notified. When you go to the new role, do the same work again efficiently and do the parallel. So that way it's like a ladder. Automatically happens. People will not be, for example, you will not be respected if you don't have good subject matter expertise. If you only talk about cross-functional project and when it comes to delivery, you're not able to do it well, it's not a great sign. So 2 years, first year, focus on doing your job more effectively. Second year, build cross-functional connections. Just keep repeating that.
Okay, superb. I think
And
that's
best part is you do this for yourself and get ready for another organization, not this organization. This organization gives you that role, fine. If it doesn't give you, then you have options.
superb, superb. I think there's a lot of advice there, especially the plan for 2 years, depth and width, right? Superb. So let's just take a break, and when we come back, we'll take audience questions now, and look forward to seeing you soon. Hi, are you a leader who's looking to get promoted, find a new job, or maybe get a meaningful salary increase in an environment that's so uncertain with layoffs, with AI coming in? One really doesn't know what's happening. I have something special for you. I'm going to be getting the Global CXO Accelerator Summit to India for the second time in a succession. This is a 7-day event, 5 days online and 2 days live, right here in Bengaluru on February 21st and 22nd of 2026. So mark your calendar and make sure you register for the event. Okay, great. As we come down to very interesting audience questions, I'm going to request you, even if you said something that please share, put your questions in, and I'm going to take them. One thing I'd like to request is, look, there's nothing personal. I'm just going to pick questions which are more general and can benefit everybody, rather than just a personal request. Okay. So, here's one from Ambuj Bhatnagar who says, how different from our normal understanding that consistency, predictability, efficiency. Okay, that's an observation. Let me just go down to the questions, right? Okay. So Madhav says, what functional expertise does GCCs look for leadership roles? Can you elaborate on what those are?
So in GCCs, it also depends upon what level of GCC is it. For example, if it is year 1 of the GCC or year 2 of GCC, year 3 of GCC, I'm considering that your question is more of year 1. When they hire anybody in technology area, right? So they also look at your expertise in supply chain management, your understanding of finance and all that, because they may not have too many people to do all these roles for you, right? So that's the kind. And then if you're joining a very established role, it's more deeper knowledge that you need to have, right? So for me, you need to understand the SCM process, you need to understand finance process, you need to understand or appreciate HR processes and all that stuff, and see how you can incubate that to your technology. That's the answer.
Oh, super. Vinod is asking, what leadership skill is missing most in GCC environments today? And how do you improve GCCs in the rapid air? There are two questions there, I think. Yeah, just take one.
So, it all depends upon the leader, Mudit. So if the leader is going after, hey, I'm 100 employee today, and I also see that headquarters has 3,000 people. Can I get another 200 people to this kind of thing? I don't. It's more of an incremental, value chain growth kind of thing. And by doing that, what he's doing for the organization also is not growing. It's just showing, right? Now the same guy says that, hey, I see that the headquarters has 18 divisions or 18 departments, and these 18 departments are spread across the universe, right? India has this capabilities of at least 13 departments. I would like to go cross sell, bring those new departments to India and staff them, do the offshoring from here, save the cost, enable the value. That's the leadership. I don't think so many of them have today. Today, they call themselves as leaders because they have grown from 300 to 600. But when you go back to the CEO of the company and ask this question, have you seen a value? They will say value is there in INR or cost, but I don't see a true value of, being more effective.
Okay.
Right? So that's a very interesting question every GCC should ask themselves. They are not here to just be a service center. They could have get that work done by services company, right? You are a GCC, which means you are the same company. What stops you to ask for work that can be done? And what stops you to say that, hey, I see that in Canada you have this 10 service developer kind of people, and I think that this is what is happening today. We can do it with 5 people and better quality. That is the kind of conversation they should do. And with that conversation, if somebody like, Kalyan, who understands this world better and all that, if they join, it's a two in tango. They'll make it happen.
Okay. Super. Here's a question on from Saurabh. It says, how do you see the current GCC boom evolving? Right? Will it have the same momentum, or what is your take?
So, my bosses tell me that this boom will be there for another 5 years. So, until 30, you have to be in this industry. So, from the right place, right time kind of thing. So, this next 5 years is for this. And every person that I'm talking to, they're only adding and not subtracting from the narrative. So, but then what happens is there's a good GCC and a not a good GCC, right? So you have seen multiple companies came into India. They have set up their offshore development centers, and then they sold it to companies like Cognizant and also, right? So if the vision is about, doing cheaper work, and if you understand that's a kind of GCC model, don't join that company if you feel that. If otherwise, if you feel that, there are two companies that I hugely respect, I'll not mention the names. You will not believe the global leadership of that company is sitting in India. The CEO's one down is sitting in India. So
Amazing.
that kind of companies will really, really impact. So if you join that companies, you have to just do what is good for you. That's all. Companies will take care of you.
Hmm. 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 Okay. Now, here's one which is more general, but I think it's a common problem that people have, is that sometimes, top management praises you, and, your boss doesn't like it, right? How do you deal with a situation like that?
So boss doesn't like because boss is not liked by management also, right? So that's how you should look at it. Jokes apart, but I think this is common. If you ask me, some of the GCCs are getting over of this today as we speak, because they also know that if you try to kill your employee will kill you one of the days. So they are becoming more generous. But the most important question that you should be asking is, how do I know my boss praises me, but then when it comes to do something, he doesn't do? So you don't know. So those are the bigger problems for you. At least in this case, this guy is, very, he is open, but those guys are more dangerous than this guy. One of
Yeah.
those days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 1 month, 2 months, this guy will change. But the other guys who are always praising you, say, you are my star and not do anything, those are the people you should be careful.
Okay.
And one hack for you is that any leader who gives access to their family or friends to you are more open. You see, right? So, Mudit, you will also talk to my son one day, right? So that time it's like, we are like connected. How is, aunt, all of that. That kind of conversations, if that is happening, they're trusting you, you're trusting them. If somebody wants to keep distance, it could be because of other reasons also. I'm not debating that. We're not getting there. But then if somebody gives you an access to their family, they talk to you for personally, friendly and all that, may not be predators, to be very honest.
Hmm. Hmm.
There are people who give you some knowledge to get some knowledge. We're not talking about them.
Okay, fair enough. In IT, there are a lot of people who are at some stage individual contributors, who specifically have not had the chance to, lead teams, etc. How, and what should they be doing in terms of building these leadership skills?
So, companies like Amazon or even Flipkart or Wells Fargo, and even for that matter, Deutsche Bank, these are the companies that I work for, Deutsche Bank, Wells Fargo. They have these leadership principles up and running. They write it down, right? Leadership principles of A organization to B organization, though it sounds same, but it is different, right? So those leadership principles have to be your narratives when you're talking to them. There is a way to copy, right? You copy in a way that the outcome is better than the actual copy. So when there is an ask, there is a leadership question on elevator pitch. There's a leadership question on how do you solve when you're ambiguous situation. You use those narratives of what company uses in your verbatim very subtly taken care. So understand the leadership attributes of each of these companies. Study how leadership from a culture is different from a Flipkart and Amazon. Mimic that in your narrative. You're in. So study, read. That's what I said. You don't go by more than 5 companies. If you take 5 or 6 companies, you will have enough time to read about them. Otherwise, you're always on the back foot of learning, and all.
Okay, super. So let's just take one last one because we're almost at 1:20 now, way beyond our time. This is something that I've just taken from here. I see and I hear that there are a lot of networks that are there. There's an Amazon network, there is a Google network. There are all these people, and when they move, they take their own people, and and sometimes the question here is, you don't get into that inner circle. How do you manage these networks if you're not part of them, or how do you?
So, one way of looking at is going to the guy who is making that network and making an impact to get into the network. Second is, you need to see who is the influential person in the network who can actually get you to the network, right? So I'll give you an example, right? So, each of us will have our own company networks, right? So, for example, if your friend has a network with Amazon and Amazon is a company that you would want to be part of, right? You might have to go into the network as a person and then maybe talk about it and then get into the network, right? But then I'm more interested in those LinkedIn networks, which is data network, AI network and all that, where you'll find a lot of people who have common interests, and that people are connected to the larger internet. So you need to, sometimes make peer relationships also. Because, for example, if you make a peer relationship with somebody at Walmart, that knowledge that you gathered by talking to these guys can be useful for any other internet company which is into retail domain, which is not what is your expertise as we speak.
Okay. I think we've spent a lot of time. We've been here for almost an hour and a half, and I'd really like to thank you, Vishwanath, for making this time. And in our community, all the people here, can you just use the reaction button at the bottom and share the kind of value that you got from this thing? Yeah, can we have yeah, I think yes, absolutely. So people have, this is real time online feedback. Vishwanath, thank you so much for coming to our community and sharing your pearls of wisdom. And you've only seen 50% of, or I would say 5% of what Vishwanath really is. And he's going to be there at our event. And I'm just going to encourage all of you to come there so that you can, meet him personally and learn from him. And, he's also going to be conducting the GCC roundtables. He's quite a veteran master in that area. And he will be bringing out the best of a lot of the GCC leaders there, in addition to, he's really been a pillar of support for us. And, we must have done something right to have met Vishwanath. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and look forward to seeing you. Yeah. Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you. All the best, and I'm available on my LinkedIn. Please do post any question that you have. I'm more than happy. I has the credibility of responding any question in less than 24 hours. So please push anything that you want to ask. Happy to be meeting you and learn from you also. Mudit, it's a
Yeah.
great experience working with you. I've learned a lot, and I definitely want to see how we can make this a grand success. You have to do every month, I think, going forward, because there's a lot that we can do to this community. This community needs something like these initiatives because most of the times, a lot of these initiatives are one person speak and 10% listening and all that stuff. It's more of interaction that you're trying to create. Happy to be part of this, Mudit. Thank you very much. And Kalyan, thank you very much for your support. You've been a back pillar. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishnu. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy your weekend. Take care. Bye bye.